Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we talk about the most important issues to Black Americans. Today, our subject is You Don't Know Black Wall Street. And we're happy to have today with us Fred Williams, who is an expert on Black Wall Street. And we will be bringing in Dr. Lesley Stratford, who is a family historian of some of the ancestors of Black Wall Street. So we're not going to belabor this with an introduction. We're going to get right into it and welcome Fred to the set.
Oh, yeah, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Look out. Hey, this might get good to me. What I want to say before we get to Dr. Stratford is, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm just tired, sick and tired of all I see when they talk about Black Wall Street are people running, scared, and nothing positive. And if you really know the history there, you'll know more than the destruction. You'll know the beautiful Black people who 50 years out of slavery built that fantastic community. And also, very seldom do any of these documentaries reach out to the descendants of those brave people who built that community. And so here today at Contemporary Black Voices, we are very fortunate because we have with her the great-granddaughter of the richest man on Black Wall Street, John Baptiste Stratford. So, Chris, you want to bring our guest on in?
Sure. Bring Dr. Lesley Stratford in. Welcome, Dr. Stratford.
Hi, how are you all?
Fine.
Hi.
I'm very much looking forward to this conversation. But
Thank
before
you.
we start with you, Dr. Stratford, I'd like for Fred to be able to give us some history about Black Wall Street, and especially from a perspective that other folks don't know about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that. Every documentary, all the historians have written this from the standpoint of Black people being slaughtered, massacred, as though we laid down there and say, hey, white folks, come on over here and kill us. And I think that's, for example, every one of these documentaries has a massacre in there. But let me ask you folks something. When they talk about the Alamo, do they ever say Alamo massacre?
No.
No, not. And they died too. All those white folks got wiped out too. So we need to try to take a rest from this whole concept of a massacre and look at those beautiful Black folks that first built that community, and then when the whites started to invade, initially fought them off. And that's a different approach, and that's the approach that we at Heroes Black Wall Street, which hopefully someday will be on the screen, we're taking when we talk about it.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about some of those individuals who were instrumental in making Black Wall Street?
Okay, yeah. The first one, and my hero, is Dr. JB Stratford. This is a man born a slave in 1862. Got his law degree from Indiana University, I think about 1898. Moved to Tulsa and went to the north side of the Frisco Tracts, which was the where the Black community was beginning to grow. This is in 1906. And so there was one other person that came there also about the same time, O.W. Gurley. These two guys understood that in order for Blacks to really survive, they need to come together and pool their money and work within their own community. In other words, they didn't want to be dependent on white folks for their food, lodging, or anything, even their schools and their library. So they invested their money as Blacks were coming in because of the oil boom over at Glenpool. And of course, Blacks couldn't own the oil fields, but they could do is they would work for the white folks in their homes. So the idea was work there, make the money, and take it back to the Black community. And they did it.
Well, let's add something to Dr. Stratford. Fred brings up JB Stratford. We've heard a lot about JB Stratford, but we really don't know a lot about JB Stratford. And you being a descendant of JB Stratford, would you please give us some insight into both him and your family?
Okay. Yeah, I was aware of JB early on, but it was through my grandfather. Um, and I like to say basically that, it was sort of the luck of the draw that I was born into this family. It's been an incredible journey and inspiring. Um, and like I said, I was just born into the family. And so when I was growing up, um, I was aware of the fact I would visit my grandmother and my grandfather, once a week. And on one occasion, um, I said something to my grandmother about the fact that, I'd open the door. I was like 4 years old. And I would open the door and Grandpa would come in. And I said to her, why is Grandpa so grumpy? And so she took that opportunity to sit my sister and I down in her living room and said, it's a wonderful thing for a man to be able to say that he saved his son's life. And I said, well, did Daddy save Grandpa's life? She said, no, but your grandpa saved his father's life. And he began to tell me the story or she began to tell me the story, my grandmother, about what had happened. And she was very graphic in the details. And at 4 years old, it's a bit overwhelming, as you can imagine. Um, but at the time, I understood that she knew that both my sister and I needed to know what was going on, needed to know what was happening in the family, and where maybe the bit of grumpiness was coming from. The fact that he was responsible for going to Tulsa, Oklahoma after the massacre happened and getting his son, getting his father, I'm sorry, getting his father and sort of secreting him away. And because he was also an attorney, he was able to stop the extradition because my grandfather was accused of having started the riot, and they would have hung him, they would have killed him. And so, because my grandfather, C. Francis Stratford, was an attorney, he was able to stop the extradition and so saved his life. As a young child, that's a little bit difficult to understand, but as an adult, I clearly understand
Well, Dr. Stratford, we're going
yes.
to take a break right now and we'll be right back. And for everyone, you are finding out what you don't know about Black Wall Street.